Hi folks, Donna Bob here back in Lake Wainwright Paleopark, and today we're going to be doing a mammoth expansion to the park, which really would have been the very beginnings of the park, at least in terms of the animals present. So we're going to take a look at it in two parts. We're starting here, heading toward one of the guest amenities blocks. Like a lot of them, it's got a restroom and a merchandise and a food station. We're going to pass by that. You'll see new stuff appearing ahead of us. To the left is the cave lion enclosure, which we looked at last week. And here we have the, oops, I got to check the spelling on that, Wrengel Island mammoths. There is a long viewing platform trimmed out with birch logs, and in the distance you see one of my boundary markers, but you're looking out onto a relatively flat plain, which apparently Wrengel Island was. Some rocks over there to the right along the river line. This river runs right in front of the viewing platform, as you can see here, and we've got mammoths out there doing their mammoth-y thing. These animals were the last surviving mammoths that we know of. So they existed into historical times, and this would have been a good candidate for surviving DNA. Here's the aerial view, get a better sense of how that river goes. It runs between rocks and rocks and echoes the natural river behind it. You can see a shelter, roughly middle upper screen there. These animals wouldn't have had shelter, but it's a legacy of the early part of bringing the animals back, thinking they might need it. And in front of the Wrengel Island sign, I've added this comparative structure where you can see the size of the Wrengel Island mammoths compared to the steppe mammoths. And they weren't true island dwarfs, apparently, and they did have a stable population despite their low numbers. As we fly over the habitat, you can see a prefab viewing tower, and this would have been part of the research procedure. You can also see the change in elevation in the back half of the habitat, which acts as a screen to hide the fence here from people looking from the viewing platform. So we're cruising across the habitat now toward that shelter. There's a mammoth sleeping in there. They've got some hay beds in there. And it's designed to blend into the landscape. The fencing in the back there is something I might want to change out eventually to provide a care area to work with the mammoths. But that's obviously something I haven't done yet. So this guy finished his nap and he's going to head out, probably looking for food. And over to the left of this care building, which we'll cruise over to, is the keeper entrance. And you can see from here that it goes to the infrastructure part of the park down near the research center. So that's sort of an inside view of the viewing area, and now some of our Wrengel mammoths doing their mammoth-y thing. We will see some of the steppe mammoths in a bit. So these guys mostly just spend their time cruising around, getting something to drink, getting something to eat, laying down, having a nap. There's one finishing a nap now. You get to see him do his stand-up animation. It really looks weird when these guys decide to take their naps in water. It kind of looks like they drowned. Elephants can do that kind of thing. They'll just occasionally put their trunk up out of the water to get air. I imagine they do that mostly to lower their body temperatures. So this guy has walked across the river And you can see the jittering that he did there, trying to find the exact place to stand to get his water. And of course, with the way the current animation goes, he's not actually reaching into the water to be able to take his drink. But it does seem to satisfy his need. Lots of deep breaths when he's doing that, apparently. Anyway, the second part was built in a separate session, and this is going to be the steppe mammoth thing. You can see there's been a change to the guest amenities there. There's another building to the right of what had been there, and it is also now connected to it. We're going to spin around a little bit. You can see the connector, so guests can move in between them. And this is a full-size restaurant. And you can tell it has windows on both sides so that our guests have view over to the area closer to where we'll be heading in a bit. But we're going to have to turn around to do that and head toward the Wrengel Island mammoth area, which is ahead of us and to the right. And we're going to take the, I think, yes, a little better view of that size comparison thing than you had in the earlier part. And you can also see I hadn't changed the sign at that point. And that's still something that has to be done. There is a connector path that goes behind that amenities cluster. You can see another one of those prefab viewing towers, part of the experiment of raising this Pleistocene fauna. We're going to come around and head into the mammoth steppe habitat. Right now, it just has two kinds of animals in it, the woolly mammoth and the equally woolly rhinoceros. The structure is the same as the Wrengel viewing structure. It seemed to make sense. This would have all been built at a time. These would have been the first structures built in this park for guests to see the animals. And then the ferry hill would have been built. Previously, it would have just been, very much a wildlife preserve. So any guest visitations probably would have gone out in vehicles. And someday maybe there will be a vehicle ride in this park. I think there would be one, but we don't have one in game yet. So we've ducked out of the viewing platform and we're coming around toward some infrastructure for the park. On the left is the staff gate into the habitat. It's a big habitat, so they get a lot of ground to cover, particularly when they're dishing up the dung collection. So here is a string of plant production facilities with a greenhouse structure I built to cover over the growing area, since that seems suitable for the boreal habitat that this park takes place in. The absolutely necessary dung collection facility. And right here, we're going to pop through the structure that goes along with the fruit growing thing. Again, with the greenhouse top, even more necessary for the fruits. And the last building in the structure is a storage facility for plants and fruit. The way this park has been building, it makes it easy to specialize those storage buildings and keep them nearer to the habitats that are using them. So, plants and fruit here, because that's what our steppe animals want, steppe vegetarians want, I should say. And then the meat production facility over at Ferry Hill. So one of the things I wanted to show you, and we're going to have to pick up a mammoth here to make it clear. Hello, Lisa. We're going to look at where you'll go. And you can see the area that they can cross. Stops at these rocks because there is no fencing under these rocks. It's just left as unnavigable area for the animals. And that means I can have these two habitats with woolly mammoths without getting a negative for having the same species in, because they do count as the same species. So we're looking at our steppe mammoth here, doing the dig under the snow animation to find some mosses or something to get through the worst of the winter. There's a woolly rhino way in the background there crossing the river. These guys have been behaving themselves pretty well and sharing the habitat, except when everybody wants to eat from the frozen fruit enrichment. This is one of the mammoths crossing the relatively low water level in the river. And another one, having finished its drink, deciding to come along after it. The mammoths in here are the first two skins that are available for the mammoth. Mixing them up, I decided to go with the larger one to represent males and the slightly smaller one to represent the females. And so it does give a little bit of variety in their coats. The Wrengel Island is the third skin, by the way. It's deliberately designed to be smaller to represent that population. Our woolly mammoths are here, and I went with a couple of different skins. All of the skins for this animal are based on cave art. So, you know, perhaps one of the more accurate animals we have represented in the game in terms of its natural coloration. So when you're inside the habitat, you can see the care facility stuff there in the background, and obviously the ranger platforms. If this eventually has a tour, then you know the observation platforms will probably end up completely inside the steppe habitat. So we're coming close to the end of today's video. It's been a little bit longer than the Lake Wainwright videos have been. Part of it is the two enclosures. And part of it is essentially to celebrate the fact that now the park is got the animals in it that it would, I think, have had when the park opened to the public as a paleo park. If you like this video, give it a like. If you've got a question or a comment, please make it. It helps the visibility of the things. If you haven't subscribed already and you're liking the sort of thing you're seeing, please do that also. Next week, there will be a big change to the park unless I move on to something from the new update, which may be around by then. Till then, take care, be kind to each other out there, and I hope to see you back here on the channel. That's it for now, so take care. Bye-bye.